Joining us now in studio is the former Israeli Justice Minister, Ayelet. Ayelet, thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Well, a lot happening today. Let's start with the north, because that is a major issue. Obviously, the IDF is going to do what it has to in terms of security, responding to Hezbollah. But what could the government do to just even make the residents of the north, those people who had to evacuate, and afterwards, after this conflict, to tell them what's it going to have to do to make those residents there feel secure to go back to their homes, some of them right there on the border with Lebanon?
So the government should ensure that we enforce the UN decision 1701. It means that the Hezbollah will not stay in South Lebanon. You know, the people from the north that are, you know, the villages are on the border, and they can't live next to the Hezbollah. The Hezbollah, according to the UN decision, should not be in South Lebanon. And the responsibility of the government is to enforce this decision, either with the help of the international security or by ourselves.
By an operation? I mean, the one thing
whatever it takes, you know, it can be an operation, it can be a diplomatic path, it can be from the air, it can be from the ground. Whatever it takes in order to verify that the Hezbollah will not stay in South Lebanon, because if they are, the Black Saturday, the massacre that we saw from the Hamas, it can happen also from the Hezbollah.
Now let's turn to the battle against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It's reaching a critical stage. The IDF seems to be zeroing in on Shifa Hospital, but coming with that is more international pressure, both from, of course, protests in the streets, what we saw in the streets of London the other day, and of course, even from some governments now, the comments from President Macron, which he kind of backtracked, pressure from the United States for a ceasefire. Is this government, in your view, going to be able to withstand it? And what should it be telling the world to make its case better?
You know, I want to read you a quote of Golda Meir, just 1 minute. I think it's important. And maybe you will understand better, not you, but of course, everyone. It's Golda Meir, okay?
Sure.
If we have to choose between being dead and pitted and being alive with a bad image, we'd rather be alive and have the bad image. So yes, there is international pressure, but you know, Biden, Macron, everyone, they saw the picture, they saw in their eyes the videos from the massacre. Hamas launched a barbaric genocidal attack on Israel. They raped our women. By the way, they murdered them while raping them. They slaughtered our babies. And they need to understand that it is either us or them. So we are going till the end this time. We are going to eliminate them. We don't have any other choice. And I hope that the world will understand that. It's not only our battle, by the way. We fight today also for the US and for the UK and for the Western world, because you know, right now it's Israel, but in the future it can be the US or the UK. So I think that the international community should support us. The international community should be unified and demand the release of our hostages. We have their babies, small little girls, children, young girls, elderly, and they all need to help us to release our hostages.
Right. Well, speaking of hostages, let me ask you, you've been parts of governments, you've been a member of governments, ministers that had to make some difficult decisions regarding hostages. I'm not going to renegotiate those hostage deals, but Prime Minister Netanyahu, for example, this morning speaking to American television, did say Israel is open to a hostage exchange under a certain kind of conditions. What's your view on that?
We have obligation to bring them home, definitely. And I know that there is now a negotiation. We said loud and clear we are not going to agree to a ceasefire unless our hostages will be back at home. So, you know, there is now negotiation, and I think that all the people in Israel now unified in order to bring them back.
But are there certain red lines should be set
Yeah, of course
in
that there
terms of the
are.
number of hostages, the fact that they have to be Israeli?
Let's give them the time to negotiate and to bring them home. You know, when the Shalit deal was made, back then I was against it because
Right.
I thought the price is too high, and now we all understand that. We released then Yahya Sinwar, and we saw what happened. But now we have 200, almost 240 hostages there. We need to do anything we can in order to bring them back and bring them back safe.
All right. Now, Israeli officials initially a month ago said, we're not going to talk about the day after. We have to win the battle. But now there is starting to, as Israel has progressed, there is starting to be talk about the day after. There are those who believe, for example, the Palestinian Authority will have to be brought in at least to run the civil side. Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel saying that Israel should maintain on security control. There are those who even in the current government advocating a return of the Gush Katif settlement block. What's your view on,
So it's
on
true,
the day
we
after?
are not going to discuss it, but of course there are red lines. The security should be, as the Prime Minister said, Israel should control the security in Gaza. Like we are doing in Judea and Samaria, we should do now the same in Gaza. We don't have any other choice. The PLO support also terrorists. They pay for slay, you know, they pay
Sure.
for the terrorists in jail. Their education system is against Israel. It is also anti-Semitic system, and they can't control Gaza as long as they are promoting anti-Semitism and pay for terrorists. So you ask me, of course we want that the international community, the moderate Arab countries will take control at least for a while, but let's wait and see. Currently, we need to eliminate Hamas. By the way, we liberate also the Palestinian from Hamas regime. The Hamas use the Palestinians in Gaza as a human shield. We saw that they murder also Palestinians that try to move from the north to the south. So it's the fight that we are doing for Israel, but also to release the Palestinians from this terror regime.
And what about those voices in the government talking about a return of the settlement block in Gush Katif?
First, we need to win.
So you don't rule it out?
I'm not talking about the future. I think first we need to win the war, to eliminate Hamas, and to bring peace back to the area.
All right. There are sirens going off now along the Gaza Strip in Netiv Asura, just north of the Gaza Strip. I don't want to get into politics, and you probably will not give me an answer on that. But there are those voices. There are those voices who say, as in the wake of October 7th, the previous government, at least parts of it that you were part of, looked more attractive than now. The question I'm going to ask is, are you satisfied with the composition of the current government? There are people who say it should be widened even further. People should be brought in. Maybe people from the outside with experience should be brought into this government.
Of course, I think that in a wartime, it's better to have a wider government. But this is what we have now, and we need to win with the current situation.
Okay. Is that? Do you see yourself having a role?
No, I'm not talking now.
Well, let me ask you. I rephrase that. We just have just 30 seconds. Is this government doing enough on the home front for Israelis? Not the war, the home front.
Definitely, they can do more. You know, I was also Minister of Interior. I'm talking with different mayors. Of course, the people from the Negev, from the West Negev, they need to get more support. I think that the construction and building of the villages that were damaged can be faster and better, and definitely on this side, the government can do more.
All right. And finally, let me just ask you about the future, the morale. You've been traveling around the country. You've been speaking. How do you assess that home front and how this country is doing?
The morale is very, very high. I'm talking with soldiers. I'm traveling to the south every few days. People are, you know, there are like soldiers all across the board from Israel, left, right, secular, religious. It doesn't matter. Everyone, really, now in Israel, everyone is united and everyone wants to eliminate the Hamas. So the morale, right, is very, very high. We are going to eliminate those monsters.
All right. Well, let's see if that...
And all their leadership, they are all dead men walking.
Okay, well, Israel has had similar situations before, and it's carried through on those kind of promises.
No, we didn't have
I'm
this
going
situation,
back to the days of Golda Meir.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, the atrocities that we saw on October
Right.
7th, they're the same in the Holocaust. But
All right.
since then, we thought that in the 21st century, we were not going to see them.
Well, history has repeated itself
Yeah.
there. Ayelet, former Justice Minister of Israel, thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us.